Alarms screaming, red lights flashing in the ICU, doctors rushing past. A young woman's hand shaking as she watches her brother's monitors spike wildly, his heart rate climbing, oxygen levels dropping. She's gripping the foot of his hospital bed, knuckles white. "Lucas, stay with me. Stay with me." Her voice cracks. A doctor pulls her back. "We need to work on him. You have to step outside." She doesn't move. Not yet. She watches them pump his chest. Then a nurse gently guides her toward the door. She walks backward, eyes locked on her brother's face, the same face that used to make her laugh, now turning pale. "He's going to make it," the nurse whispers, but they both know nobody can promise that. That's Ivy Santiago, and what comes next will change her life forever. This is the moment everything breaks. 6 months earlier, Lucas was healthy. He went to the gym, he ate well. Then one day he complained about his back. 2 weeks later, his kidneys started failing. 1 month after that, he was told he needed a transplant to survive. Just like that, her entire world collapsed. Ivy was 26 years old, working 3 jobs. She worked the morning shift at a coffee shop in downtown Austin starting at 5 a.m. Then she'd rush to the hospital, where she worked in the cafeteria from noon to 6 p.m. At night, she cleaned offices 7 until midnight, every single day. The medical bills were stacking up. $30,000, $50,000. By the time the transplant protocol came, it was clear. $190,000 for the surgery. Another $180,000 in post-operative care. The transplant had a 28% chance of complications, which meant the costs could double. Ivy had nothing. Her parents died when she was 18. No inheritance, no safety net, just her and Lucas against the world. She'd already maxed out 3 credit cards. The hospital had a program for patients who couldn't pay, but there was a waiting list, a long one. And Lucas didn't have time. 3 weeks into Lucas's illness, Ivy was sitting in the hospital cafeteria on her 15-minute break when a financial counselor approached her. "Your brother's application for emergency assistance. It's been denied. I'm sorry. The program is oversubscribed. We'd recommend looking into charitable organizations." Ivy stared at her tray. Cold chicken, cold coffee. Everything in her life was cold right now. But then, something happened. Something impossible. The Rhodes Foundation, one of the biggest nonprofits in the country, reached out to the hospital. They had a new program. They were covering medical costs for select kidney disease patients, and Lucas's name was on the list. Ivy cried that night, not just because the bills might be paid, but because it meant her brother could live. It meant she wouldn't lose him. The foundation coordinator told her that the CEO, Sebastian Rhodes, personally reviewed the cases. He wanted to meet her. 3 days later, Ivy was on a flight to Denver. She'd never flown before. She'd never left Texas. She was terrified. The Rhodes Industries building was 45 stories tall, all glass and steel. The kind of place where people like Ivy didn't belong. She was wearing her best dress, the one she wore to her parents' funeral 12 years ago. The elevator went up and up and up. The view of Denver got smaller and smaller. She felt like she was leaving reality behind. When the doors opened, there was a woman at a desk. Perfect makeup, expensive clothes. She looked at Ivy the way people usually did, like she was someone who didn't belong there. "Mr. Rhodes will see you now." His office was the entire top floor. Windows on every side. Mountains in the distance. Ivy felt dizzy. Sebastian Rhodes stood when she entered. He was tall, maybe 35, dark suit, dark eyes, handsome in a way that felt dangerous. He had the kind of face that showed nothing, like he'd spent years learning how to hide. "Ivy Santiago." He shook her hand. His grip was firm, professional, cold. "Mr. Rhodes, I don't know how to thank you." The foundation covering Lucas's "Sit." He gestured to the chair across from his desk. He sat down, leaned back. "I want to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest." "Okay." "Why do you work 3 jobs?" He said it like he already knew the answer, like he was testing her. "My brother is sick, and no one else can help you?" "There is no one else." Ivy's voice was steady. "Our parents are dead. We don't have cousins. We don't have anyone." Sebastian nodded slowly. He stood up and walked to the window. He had his back to her for a long moment. When he turned around, something had shifted in his expression. Something human had cracked through. "I'm going to offer you something," he said. "And you're going to think I'm insane, but I need you to listen to the entire offer before you respond." Ivy's stomach dropped. "I'll pay for Lucas's surgery, all of it, plus post-operative care, plus anything he needs for 5 years. I'll cover his college too, if he wants to go. The entire cost. Gone." Ivy felt tears start. "I don't understand. Why would you?" "Because I'll ask for something in return." He walked back to his desk and picked up a folder. "I need you to marry me." The words didn't make sense. Ivy thought she heard wrong. "I'm sorry?" "Marry me. For exactly 24 months. After that, we file for divorce. Clean. Professional. No one needs to know it was ever anything but real." You're crazy." Ivy stood up. "This is crazy. I'm leaving." "Ivy, sit down." Something in his voice made her sit. "I'm the CEO of the largest tech company in Colorado," Sebastian continued. "In 6 months, my father is trying to take over the company. He'll use everything he can against me, every weakness, every vulnerability. I've lost too much already. I can't lose this company too. It's all I have left. So hire someone. Pay them. There have to be thousands of women who... I don't need a woman who wants to be a billionaire's wife. That's exactly what my father will expect. He'll use any of those women to get to me. What I need is a woman who doesn't care about money. A woman who has something more important to protect." He leaned forward. "I need someone like you. Someone who'd do anything for the people she loves." Ivy felt her heart pounding. Every nerve in her body was screaming that this was wrong. But her brother was in a hospital bed. He was dying, and this man was offering to save him. "The contract is 24 months, Sebastian continued. "We make public appearances together. We go to events. You wear the clothes. I buy you. You learn to act like you belong in my world. But at home, we're strangers. No emotional attachment. No real relationship. After 24 months, we separate. You take $50 million and you never see me again." $50 million. That was a number so large it didn't feel real. "And if I say no?" Ivy asked. "Then I'll pay for Lucas's surgery anyway. I'm not a monster. But you'll spend the next decade paying off medical debt. You'll work yourself to death. And probably, statistically, you'll lose your brother again in 7 years when something else goes wrong." He was being honest. She hated that. Honesty felt like cruelty. "I need to think about this. You have 24 hours. After that, the offer expires." Ivy left the building. She walked around Denver for 4 hours. She called her best friend, River, a nurse at the hospital. "Ivy, That's insane. That's human trafficking. It's not like that. I'd be his wife. We'd just not be together. You'd be selling yourself. Is that really any different? Ivy didn't know the answer. She called Lucas. He was confused. He didn't understand how someone could ask her to marry them for money. Don't do it, he said. I don't want you to do this. But his voice was weak. He was scared. She could hear it. That night, Ivy sat alone in her hotel room and made a decision. The contract was 43 pages. It detailed every aspect of their lives together. No interviews, no press contact, no entering his private office without permission, mandatory public appearances, full NDA or she'd owe $10 million in damages. And if she tried to leave before 24 months, the deal was off. Lucas would owe the foundation every cent they'd spent. She signed anyway. The wedding was 3 days later. Judge's chambers. No guests. No flowers. No celebration. Just legal documents and signatures and a judge who looked tired of seeing unhappy marriages. Sebastian gave her a gold band. She put it on his finger. He put one on hers. Neither of them smiled. I do, he said flatly. I do, she echoed. And that was it. They were married. If you're watching this and you think this is crazy, comment below and let me know. But stick around, because what happens next will blow your mind. This is where the story actually starts. Ivy moved into Sebastian's penthouse that afternoon. 5,500 square feet overlooking Denver. Modern art on the walls. Marble floors. Everything perfect. Everything cold. Grace, the housekeeper, showed her around. She was warm and maternal, which made it worse somehow. She showed Ivy to her suite, separate from Sebastian's. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. 2 people who would never touch. You must be so excited, Grace said gently. Ivy wanted to laugh or scream. She did neither. That first week was torture. They'd leave together in the morning, and Ivy would have to hold his hand in the car. In public, they had to look like newlyweds. At galas, they had to stand close. But the moment they walked back into the penthouse, he'd disappear into his office. He barely looked at her. Xavier, Sebastian's assistant, showed up the next day with clothes. Thousands of dollars worth. Designer dresses. Heels she couldn't walk in. Jewelry that probably cost more than her old apartment. Mr. Rhodes wants you to look the part, Xavier said, not unkindly. Ivy tried on the clothes. She looked like someone else, someone rich, someone who didn't belong in her own skin. On day 5, a paparazzi caught them at a coffee shop. The photo went viral online. Sebastian Rhodes' mystery wife. The comments were brutal. Some people were jealous. Some were cruel. Some asked how she'd trapped him. When they got home, Sebastian was furious. You talked to a journalist at the coffee shop. I didn't. Someone got a photo. Someone asked you questions. What did you say? Nothing. I said nothing. You almost destroyed this entire arrangement in 1 week. Do you understand how close we are to losing everything? His voice was cold, cutting. You need to be smarter. You're representing my company now. You're representing me. Ivy felt something crack inside her. She'd given up her life. She'd married a stranger, and he couldn't even look at her without contempt. I didn't do anything wrong, she said quietly. Your existence is wrong. You being here is wrong. But I'm stuck with it, so make it bearable. He left. She sat on the marble floor of that beautiful penthouse and cried. But then, something unexpected happened. 3 weeks into the marriage, Ivy couldn't sleep. It was 2 a.m. She went downstairs for water and found Sebastian on the couch, staring out at the city. He had a glass of whiskey. He looked broken. She almost turned around and left, but something made her sit down next to him. They didn't talk for 10 minutes. Just sat. Just existed next to each other. Finally, he spoke. Her name was Isabel. I was going to marry her. We'd been together for 5 years. I loved her more than I'd ever loved anything. He took a drink. 3 years ago, she was driving home from the office. A drunk driver hit her car. She died on impact. Ivy didn't know what to say. After that, I closed off, he continued. I told myself I'd never let anyone in again. Love is just pain with a better name. He turned to look at Ivy. My father told me I was weak, that I'd lost her because I wasn't strong enough to keep her. So I built walls. I built a company. I became someone who couldn't be hurt because there was no one inside to hurt. That's not strength, Ivy said softly. That's just survival. Yes, exactly. And now you're here, and the walls are already cracking. They didn't touch. They didn't kiss. But something shifted. From that night on, they'd sit on that couch together. Sometimes in silence, sometimes talking, just being present with each other. And it started to matter. 2 months into the marriage, Ivy went back to Austin for Lucas's transplant surgery. She was terrified. What if something went wrong? What if he died and she'd sacrificed everything for nothing? She was sitting outside the OR at 6 a.m., alone, when someone sat down next to her. Sebastian. She was so shocked she couldn't speak. I took the jet from Denver, he said. I had Xavier cancel my meetings. Why would you? Because you need someone right now. And I'm here. They didn't talk. They just sat. When the surgeon came out 4 hours later, with good news the transplant was successful, Lucas was waking up. Sebastian was still sitting next to her. That's when Ivy realized she was falling in love with him, and it was dangerous. The contract said no emotional attachment. Violate it, and she lost everything. Lucas would owe the foundation everything. She'd lose the $50 million. She'd have nothing, but she couldn't stop feeling. 3 months later, Lucas was home and recovering. The transplant was working. He started physical therapy. He was going to be okay. Ivy threw herself into public events, galas in Aspen, charity dinners, red carpets. She learned to smile for cameras, and slowly she became good at it. Not because she was pretending anymore, but because Sebastian was there, and being near him made everything better. And then everything fell apart. Sebastian's father, Victor Rhodes, made his move. It was a formal board meeting. 40 of the most powerful business people in Colorado. Victor had been collecting votes for months. He had a plan to expose Sebastian's fake marriage as a way to manipulate the board. If he could prove the marriage was a fraud, he could argue that Sebastian's judgment was compromised, that he couldn't be trusted to run the company. I have evidence, Victor announced, standing at the head of the table. My son married a woman for money to avoid a hostile takeover. This shows his desperation, his weakness. This company needs new leadership. Sebastian felt his entire world collapsing. He'd spent 3 years building this company. It was the only thing he had left of his mother, and his father was about to take it away. Victor turned to look directly at him. I moved to strip Sebastian Rhodes of his position as CEO, pending investigation into fraud and corporate misconduct. The board started debating. 8 board members stood with Victor immediately. 6 stood with Sebastian. 26 didn't know which way to go yet. But then something happened. Ivy walked into that boardroom. She wasn't supposed to be there. Xavier had told her to stay home, but she came anyway. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she said calmly, "but I'd like to say something about my marriage to Sebastian Rhodes." "This is a private board meeting," Victor said coldly. "I'm a shareholder. I have that right." And she did. In the contract, Sebastian had given her 1% of the company, a symbolic gesture, but it was enough to let her speak. "My husband and I started with a contract," she continued. "That's true. But what's also true is that I've watched him work 70-hour weeks to make sure his employees have health insurance. I've watched him donate millions to causes that don't benefit him. I've watched him turn into someone who's brave enough to admit when he's scared. And I've watched his father spend every moment trying to tear him down." She looked directly at Victor. "The question isn't whether this marriage started as a contract. The question is whether this company was built by a man of integrity or a man of greed. And if you're voting based on what's best for the company, you already know the answer." She walked out. The board voted. The motion to remove Sebastian failed. 12 new board members stood with him. The vote was 18-8. It was enough. Victor's face went red. He'd spent months planning this, and a woman with nothing had destroyed it in 2 minutes. But he wasn't done fighting. Not yet. That night, Victor confronted Ivy directly. He cornered her in the parking garage under the building. "I'll destroy you," he said. "I'll leak the contract. I'll ruin your reputation. I'll make sure Lucas never works again. Your life will be over." Ivy stepped closer to him. She didn't flinch. "Go ahead, because the moment you do, you destroy yourself too. You'd be admitting that you raised a son so broken that the only way he could find love was to buy it. Is that really the legacy you want? Is that really what you want people to know about you?" Victor had no answer. He left. The next day, he resigned from the company and moved to Miami. And just like that, it was over. That night, Ivy and Sebastian did something they'd never done before. They went on camera, a national news interview. No script, no preparation, just honest conversation. "How did your marriage start?" the interviewer asked. Sebastian answered, "As a contract. I needed to secure my company. Ivy needed to save her brother's life. We made a deal. And now, I can't imagine my life without her. She saved more than my brother's life. She saved mine." Ivy talked about her journey, about working 3 jobs, about thinking her life was over, about finding something unexpected in the most unlikely place. "I married him because I was desperate," she said. "But I love him because he's worth loving." The interview aired on a Wednesday night. By Thursday morning, they were trending worldwide. Some people were upset. Some said it was manipulative. But most people understood. Most people saw a love story that didn't follow the rules. The stock price went up 11%. More importantly, Sebastian and Ivy were free. They went back to the penthouse that night and looked at the original contract. 43 pages of terms and conditions that no longer mattered. "We could stay married," Sebastian said. "For real this time. Not because of the contract. Because I choose you." "I want that," Ivy said. "But I want to do it right. No contracts, no deals. Just us." They took the contract to the fireplace. Page by page, they tore it up. They watched it burn. And then Sebastian got on one knee. "Will you marry me again? Not for the company. Not for Lucas. Not for any reason except that you make me want to be brave?" Ivy said yes before he could finish the question. If you've made it this far, you're invested in this story. So please, hit that subscribe button. New stories just like this one drop every week. And if this one hit you, leave a like and a comment. Tell me what part of their story broke your heart the most. The wedding was 6 months later. This time, it was real. 300 guests, flowers everywhere. A church in downtown Denver packed with people who loved them. Lucas walked Ivy down the aisle. He was healthy now, strong. He'd started college the semester before. Sebastian had kept his promise. Lucas was studying pre-med. Caleb Flynn and Dimitri Stavros stood beside Sebastian. They were his oldest friends. They'd watched him close himself off after Isabel died. They'd watched him come back to life with Ivy. When Sebastian saw Ivy in her wedding dress, he cried, "For real this time, no walls, just a man who'd found his way back to feeling." Ivy cried too, because she'd gone from working 3 jobs with nothing to standing here in front of everyone, loved and celebrated. They exchanged new vows, real ones. "I promise to let you see me," Sebastian said. "All of me. The broken parts, the scared parts, the parts that aren't strong enough. I promise to never leave," Ivy said. "Even when it's hard, even when you're impossible, I promise to stay." They were married again, but this time it meant something completely different. A year later, Ivy gave birth to a daughter. They named her Ruth. She had Sebastian's dark eyes and Ivy's smile. Lucas graduated from college. He was going to be a doctor. He dedicated his thesis to Sebastian, the man who saved his life and became his brother. On a quiet night, with Rue sleeping between them on their couch, the couch where everything changed, Ivy and Sebastian looked out at the Denver skyline. "Do you remember that day?" Ivy asked. "When you said you hired me to save your company?" "I remember." "You were wrong. You didn't hire me to save anything. You saved yourself. You just needed someone to show you it was possible." Sebastian pulled her closer. "I don't believe in contracts anymore," he said. "I don't believe in deals or arrangements or anything that tries to control love. Love is chaos. Love is choosing someone every single day, even when it would be easier not to." "Is that a marriage proposal?" Ivy laughed. "No, we're already married. It's a promise, a real one, with no expiration date." Grace came by the next morning like she always did. She saw the couple on the couch, asleep, with Ruth between them. She smiled and quietly backed out of the room. That contract, the one they burned it, had saved a life and almost destroyed 2 others. But in the end, it led them to something real, something that couldn't be bought or sold or arranged, something that just was. And that's the thing about love that nobody tells you. It doesn't care about your plans. It doesn't care about your contracts or your timelines or your fears. It just shows up one day and changes everything. If you're watching this and you've been thinking about taking a risk on someone, or on yourself, or on something that scares you, this is your sign. Do it. Because the best things in life are the ones we don't plan for. Before you go, hit that comment button and tell me, would you have signed that contract? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do that now. More stories like this are coming, and you don't want to miss them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.